rapidly what kicked in, of course, and you'll know this as well, but what kicked in right across the UK was then this rapid rise in the criminal justice related interventions.
Yeah.
Suddenly that became a really complex player in the mix. There was almost as much money started to appear itself via the Home Office, for those first ever kind of court orders, a massive explosion. I did loads of work with a lad called Robert Stanbury at Home Office, in which we did loads of work developing how you used audit to screen within the criminal justice system, and then develop pathways and programs. So there was all that kind of stuff going on as well. So it was a very fertile landscape, I suppose, at one level. It wasn't static, I think. Yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we evaluated a number of the criminal justice programs, and I had some positives. But when you've also got, you drive into Swansea off the M4 if you've come from the east, and you see there's a massive big police sign saying "rat on a rat."
Yeah,
they're amazing initiative. They wanted people to rat on heroin users. So there was this conflict, and I mean, I remember one time a young couple came up to the office, and if my colleagues had knew I had a couple of heroin addicts in my office, they wouldn't have been impressed. But anyway, they explained what had happened. They'd gone down to Sands, I think it was at the time, to both go on methadone, and they said he could go on methadone because he had a criminal record, but she couldn't because she didn't have a criminal record. And they started talking with us, and after a while they said, "We've got more out of listening to you and Lucy and just chatting with you than we've got from any treatment service." And that sort of
listening to you, there are a couple of things bits of the story that occurred to me and all that. Very early in the days with Ian Wardle, I remember that when we used to say to people, and people would ring us up at the Lifeline helpline and stuff, and say, "Well, I've just been told by the drug service there's a 2-year waiting list to get on prescription. Is there anything I can do?" And you felt like tongue in cheek saying to them, "Well, you could go out and tell your son to go on the biggest ever criminal spree as possible, and once he's been arrested 3 or 4 times in the space of a couple of weeks, he'll get on a script very quickly, but that will have further consequences for him down the line, which you probably don't want." So there was all that irony of that going on. And you and I both know people are really important in all this. I've already mentioned a couple of people by name, but you mustn't forget that when you were visiting in North Wales, and the explosion of the criminal justice scene in North Wales was the same time, of course, that we had that very radical police chief, Richard Brunstrom, who was incredibly outspoken and had essentially told his police officers he didn't actually think the war on drugs could actually be won, and had instructed a smaller number of his police officers, and he had 2 or 3 who we worked with very closely, and one who still works in Northeast Wales today. He told them to just go out and start doing proper community partnership working and see how we can make a difference for the drug using community on the ground, because we're going nowhere just arresting these people. And and he already knew that.